Guys, today we're going to test out 10 different games in 2026 on the RX 9060 XT 16GB Asus Prime version of the GPU. You can see all specs right here on the GPU-C, paired up with the i5-12400F and 32GB of DDR4 memory running at 3200 MHz. And over here on the afterburner, you can see nothing is overclocked, everything is base speeds. No undervolting, no overclocking, nothing. Just the base speeds, stock settings, okay? And it's the latest 26.6.4 driver. This is July 1st. So let's test some games out on 1440p, okay? I'm just going to see how it's going to run on the max settings. And if it's not going to get a 60 FPS on any adjustable upscaling with frames and all of that, I'm going to turn down the settings and go for the best settings to run the games on 1440p. So let's jump into it. All right, so this is Crimson Desert, starting it off. On Crimson Desert, this game is really popular. And it's a really big open world game, if you guys didn't know by now. But yeah, I'll show you guys the settings that we're going to start it off on. 1440p, no upscaling for now, and red regeneration turned on. Anti-lag also on. And going to graphics settings, you can see everything is maxed out with cinematic. Everything. So they have this new option called displacement scale. The last time I checked it out, it wasn't there. So yeah, they've added a few more options into the settings menu. They upgrade this game like every few weeks, and they keep adding more stuff. You can see we're using 6.68 GB out of the 16 GB, but on 1440p, we are barely getting 30 FPS. It's really intensive, especially with the ray regeneration turned on. So, yeah, I forgot the jumping mechanics in this game is way different. So let's just fall down to the ground, and you can see like we're already getting 19 FPS, so which is definitely not the way to play this game. You have to turn off a ray regeneration, which I will when we hit the ground. But to show you guys the scale of this thing, it is insanely huge. Like most of the people who watch my videos, they already know that. But again, you guys get the idea. 14 FPS, what the hell? Am I climbing the tree? Even on 1440p, this is a really intensive game when you max it out. So not a good idea, guys. So turning off ray regeneration, it's going to significantly improve the performance. So that takes you from 15 to 49, almost 50 FPS. There you go. But again, this is not perfect. We are looking for 60 FPS at least to get a smooth frame rate. And this is FSR 4.1, which is super gorgeous looking. Don't see any issues whatsoever. So yeah, this is looking really good. So what I'm going to do is use some upscaling and maybe a little bit of frame gen, which I don't think we need to. But again, we haven't touched anything else except the ray regeneration option, which is the most intensive thing in this game. You need a 9070 XT and some upscaling definitely to make that happen. But yeah, I'm going to go to upscale mode, use some quality upscaling, and that should get us to solid 60 plus FPS. And there it is, 62 FPS. And that is now way better. The game still looks really sharp on 1440p. So definitely, Crimson Desert, this is the way to go. But again, this might drop down from 60 here and there. So make sure if that's not going to happen, you're going to have to add a little bit more to it. So we're going to have to use some frame gen on top of it. And since we only have 2x frame gen on the AMD cards, because AMD is lazy to implement multi-frame gen, we're going to have to turn frame gen as well. And that takes us all the way to 90 or even 115 FPS. And with anti-lag turned on, we are not facing any kind of latency issues as well. It is super smooth, even with keyboard and mouse. So I'd say keep it on these settings. But if you hate frame gen, you can turn it off and go for balanced settings on the upscalers. And that should get you a solid 70 FPS. But if you don't mind dipping down a little bit below 60, you can just keep it to quality mode and call it a day. So Crimson Desert is definitely playable, but not with the ray regeneration. You gotta turn that off completely and just go with the maximum settings possible. But yeah, you definitely need some upscaling. Now, native settings is not possible, okay? Let me just get into a fight right here and see if that's gonna reduce the FPS. Oh, that is actually dropping the FPS down quite a lot. I think it's just a one-off thing, you know. Might be loading some things in the background. This is possibly why that happens, but after that it picks up really quick. But yeah, I've played this game a lot before. The game will run pretty good, guys. So Crimson Desert 1440p is playable on max settings. But with upscaling and frame gen is optional, you don't need to turn it on. But you definitely need some upscaling to play it on maxed out settings, okay? Now let's move on to the next game. Next up, we got Forza Horizon 6. Again, a really well optimized game. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the settings. We're gonna start it off on, of course, 1440p and native anti-aliasing with the FSR 4.1 and graphics set to extreme plus RT, just to see how it's gonna perform, okay? So you can see here we're getting almost 40 FPS, which is really impressive, you know? And the game looks really gorgeous, and since it's a racing game, even playing on 1440p, like 30 FPS, it's actually doable. You don't actually necessarily need 60 FPS to play a racing game, but again, that's not the goal today. We definitely need 60 FPS for this video on all the games we're testing today. So yeah, we definitely need some upscaling. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to settings. I'm gonna use some upscaling. Instead of native anti-aliasing, I'm gonna go to quality mode. And since we don't have any frame gen option available, we're gonna have to stick to quality mode with extreme RT. That is actually really impressive. So let me just go ahead and start a race. Man, it's a D class tier race. Nah, man, I don't want to do that. So let's just roam around instead. Yeah. So you guys get the idea, man. 73 FPS with just enabling quality mode on FSR. So this game is really well optimized. And I gotta test it out on the city. So we are gonna drive all the way to the city as well. So in the city, it's gonna drop down below 60 for sure, because we are barely getting 60 here. So that means it's gonna be around 55 to 60. So let's see how that's gonna be. All right, in the city, you can see we are barely getting 60 FPS again. But again, I've seen it enough times already. You can see it's dropping down into the 50s here and there. So depending on the area in the city you are, it's gonna drop down even to the early 50s. But here, like, we are like almost in the outskirts of the city, so it's not gonna be that intensive. But in the middle of the city, it's gonna be anywhere from 50 to 60. So just keep that in mind. But again, you don't need to necessarily go down below extreme plus RT. This card is really capable of doing that. All you gotta do is a little bit of upscaling, and it's gonna look really good, like you can see right here. Even this is totally playable for me. And again, depends on the type of player you are. If you want like no upscaling and want native settings always, you have to go down to extreme settings instead and turn off ray tracing completely. Just keep it on extreme and it should be much more playable. And there it is. That takes you to 97 FPS. Still having really good visuals. Ray tracing does improve the visuals by a lot, but even on extreme settings, it looks really good. So there you have it, man. Forza Horizon 6, I knew it was going to be an easy one because I already tested the game out. Had an in-depth, different resolution benchmark before in the channel, so I knew how it's going to run. Yeah, Forza Horizon, easy win. You can play it on extreme or extreme RT with a little bit of upscaling. Since we don't have any frame gen, you're going to have to use some upscaling, but stick to quality mode and you are good to go. That's Forza Horizon 6. Super playable. Now let's move on to the next game. Okay, next up is 007 First Light. Fairly new game. Came out like almost a month ago. Did a in-depth benchmark on this as well, and it was running pretty well. Especially on 16 GB cards. On the 8 GB versions, it's going to be different, but on 16 GB versions, they run pretty well. Especially when you switch back and forth with the settings. You need at least 10 GB of VRAM, especially on ultra settings. But ultra settings seems to be pretty good. You can see everything is ultra, and I'm using native settings as well. You can see resolution scaling is turned off for now, and we will adjust once we see how it runs. So let's go. Alright, so we're in the game, and you can see 71 FPS without even doing anything. The thing is, you can see we are using 10 GB of VRAM, so you definitely need a 16 GB version of this GPU to actually make it playable smoothly. And yeah, it is definitely dropping down below 60 FPS here. There's a really intense scene with a lot of people sitting and all of that. So I don't know how it's going to be when the game releases path tracing option. It's going to be interesting to see it. So I'll be coming back for that. But for now, it is solid on native settings. So all we have to do is probably just put it to quality mode and we should be good to go. I'm going to put it to quality mode. And since, again, we don't have any frame gen for this game, it's exclusive to NVIDIA GPUs only in this game as well, just like Forza Horizon. we're gonna have to use just upscaling and stick with it. So 80 FPS. And this is not FSR 4.1, it's FSR 3. So it doesn't look as crispy as it was on Forza Horizon or Crimson Desert, but it's not bad, guys. Okay, definitely looks pretty smooth, and it's a really intense area. We're in 90 FPS without even bumping down any settings. This is ultra settings, the max you can do in this game so far, and it is running really well. So even looking down in the main hall like that with a lot of people sitting, it's averaging 70 something FPS. So you're good, man. This game is really well optimized for 16 GB cards. I'm gonna have to preface on that, because if it's an 8 GB card, it's gonna struggle, because on the 5060 it was struggling a lot. So if you're on the 8 GB version of the GPU, you're gonna have to turn down the settings to maybe high and use maybe balanced or even performance upscaling on 1440p. But on the 16 GB version, since you have a lot of headroom, you can see using 10.4 GB of VRAM right here. You can run the game really well. So that's it. And of course, this is a 16 GB version benchmark, not the 8 GB. So anybody who's clicking in for the 8 GB version, just be aware, you're not going to get the same performance and same smooth frame rate on the 8 GB version. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be 007 First Light. Really solid experience. All you need is a little bit of upscaling and you're good to go. So jump into the next game. Next up, we got another controversial game because of its system requirements, which turned out to be false on release. It's the Lego Batman, the Legacy of the Dark Knight. So let's go on and see the settings. Again, maxing it out. This is the first time I'm playing this game on this GPU as well, so I have no idea. So 1440p, I'm gonna use FSR native and epic settings. Okay, I think it's FSR 4.1. I'm not sure. It's FSR 4.1 or freaking 3.1, but either way, it looks pretty good on native settings, and we are barely getting 60 FPS on these settings as well. So 45 in the city. This is a really intensive scene right here, but 43 though. So not bad, you know. This game is actually really intensive on epic settings, and we're still using 10 GB of VRAM on epic. So 8 GB cards again, be aware of this. This video might not be for you. This is for the 16 GB versions only, and it is really capable GPU for maxing out textures and all of that. You definitely need more than 8 GB to max out textures, especially on higher resolutions. So yeah, 46 FPS, not the best. So with a little bit of upscaling, we should be able to get a really solid 60 FPS experience. And there it is. So from 45 to 63, pretty good. 73, it depends on where you are. I'm gonna drive my car around a little bit and see how that's gonna be. But again, you might need a little bit of frame gen as well on top of this to make it work. If I'm gonna drive around, you can see 54, not still enough for a smooth 60 FPS experience. You can hit 60, but it's not gonna be solid 60, especially if you're playing co-op with another person. You definitely need a little bit more upscaling or frame gen. I'm gonna go try using high settings first. All right, I go to high settings, and it says we gotta restart the game, but I don't think we need to. And we're getting 73 now, which is much better than just 50 or 55. Okay, so now I think it's like solid 60 FPS all throughout. You know, you need at least baseline 75 FPS average to make sure we are hitting that 60 FPS all the time. So here we have 60 FPS. It is still dropping a little bit into the baseline 60 FPS, but still pretty playable. So high settings, I say it's going to be the best way to play the game. With the quality mode, should be able to play the game really well. And if you enable some frame gen, it's going to guarantee you 100 FPS. So I'm going to do that. FSR. There you go, 140 FPS. It's not showing what it is upscaled from in the Steam overlay, unfortunately, but since it's 2x frame gen, I'm guessing anywhere from 65 to 120. So yeah, this is really playable, guys. Really smooth, even with the keyboard and mouse. I don't see any artifacting or anything. Solid experience right here with frame gen. If you're cool with enabling frame gen, you can even bump it up to epic settings. You're still gonna get at least 90 FPS average. So solid right here. So that's Lego Batman, the Legacy of the Dark Knight. And again, another really well optimized game, but on running on epic settings, you definitely need 10 GB or more VRAM. So let's move on to the next game. Next up is a early access game Fatekeeper is a really well optimized Unreal Engine 5 title. I tested this out on the 3080 Ti. It was running pretty good even on 4K, but with some upscaling. So let's see how it's going to handle the 9060 XT. 1440p. I'm going to use ultra settings, just to see the capacity. I use FSR and native anti-aliasing. So with that, we can get 39 FPS inside the cave. And this seems to be really intensive over here. So let's keep it going. Alright, go outside. It's like an RPG type of game with beautiful looking visuals. You can see right here, 35. So again, not the best. I'm only getting 35 with a stuttery, jittery looking frame time graph. Even though it's not that bad. I'll move around, but you can see 10 GB on 1440p with ultra settings. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on some upscaling to quality mode, and that takes us to close to 60 FPS. Not quite there, but again, not terrible. Of course, you can get 70 FPS if you go ahead and look into the distance with not a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, in these intense, highly detailed environments, you're gonna go down even to 50s. It's not a good sign whatsoever. Okay, so ultra settings is not going to be a good idea. I'm going to go down to high settings. All right, quality mode, and there you have it. That's 83 FPS. So 70 FPS over here, 70 to 80. I think this is the sweet spot for this game on the 9060 XT. And again, if you use some of your abilities, I don't know if you can use the abilities here. I think you need to go and fight somebody. It is a little intensive, but I don't think it's gonna make it drop below 60 whatsoever. So I'd say high settings and DLSS, FSR quality is the way to go in this game, because this is the most intensive area I've seen in the game so far, like inside these buildings with lights or fire like this, so I'd say if you're like outside, it's gonna be way better. So keeping it to these settings would be the best idea to play the game. Fatekeeper on the 9060 XT, really well optimized game, and again, we'll see how it's going to be when the actual game comes out. Early access, cannot judge the whole full game just by playing the early access. They can tweak settings and make it more smoother. But for what it is, it's still solid with really impressive visuals, so can't be mad about it. So I'm going to say high settings, quality, upscaling on 1440p, you're good to go. Pretty solid. So now let's move on to the next game. Okay, next game is going to be Pragmata. And this game was really well optimized as an RE engine game. I already did a in-depth video, and we were able to run the game maxed out pretty much with some upscaling, even at 4K. So this is going to be an easy cakewalk for this GPU right here. So you can see we're enabling ray tracing, no path tracing. It's only locked to NVIDIA GPUs. So we're going to enable ray tracing, 1440p, and everything else is maxed out. I'm going to go for FSR. Actually, turn it off for now, no upscaling at all. And everything else is maxed out. There you go. All right, so let's see. Here we are. This is the boss fight. Seems to be the most intensive scene that I've faced in this game so far. And you can see we're getting 69 FPS on native 1440p with ray tracing. So, and yeah, this is the boss fight right here. I think I've finished this boss fight at least like 50 times by already now. I forgot how to play this game. It's been a while. And you can see, man, even with these settings, it's like really playable. You don't actually need to go down below these at all. So it is like really playable, guys. 66 FPS. So even without any frames or anything, it is like super playable on these graphics with ray tracing enabled. So that tells you everything. So if you guys want, you can use a little bit of upscaling and make it like, quality mode instead of native. So I'm gonna go FSR 3 and go quality. That's the most I will go to, because anything below that is gonna look like trash. And there it is. It looks really good. Even with these intense settings or scenarios, it is really playable, guys. 81 FPS. So let me go and get this thing destroyed. But yeah, 81 FPS, guys, super playable. If it's gonna play like this over here, it's gonna be way more playable on the other scenarios. This boss fight is really intensive, so there you go. It's, Just gonna shoot that over there. I'm gonna charge and use it on his head right there. There you go, 80 FPS guys. So super playable. Pragmata is a really well optimized game by Capcom. So I don't think I need to show you guys anything further, right? That's really well. So yeah, there you have it. That's a Pragmata. Solid experience. You don't need to do anything else. You can max it out on ray tracing, and if you want to, you can use some upscaling or just keep it in native. It's totally up to you, but either way, it's going to be a really great experience. Now let's move on to the next game. Next up, we got Resident Evil Requiem. If you guys notice the background, it's now nighttime. Yes, I had to go out and do some other stuff. Now I'm back. Now it's nighttime. So you can see we are, to be honest, this is the first ever game that I tested after unboxing the GPU in the channel, and it run really well. So I don't have to go down a lot of settings to make this game work. So let's see. It's 1440p. No motion blur. Ray tracing is set to high. Can actually do ray tracing with a little bit of upscaling. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So graphics quality maxed. Everything is maxed out pretty much. Okay. Go to advanced. You can see using upscaling FSR 4.1 and native anti-aliasing. Okay. This is the starting area of the game. One of the most intensive scenarios with ray tracing and all of that. You can see we're getting only 33 FPS. It's not enough. It's gonna change if you're in a different situation, especially in the lab. I don't know if it's a lab, you know, that the big palace looking area. I forgot the name. The center, science center or something. So over here it's pretty intensive. That's why we're only getting 36 FPS using 12 GB of VRAM. So let me just enable some upscaling. Instead of native anti-aliasing, I'm gonna go for balanced. That will take us to 66 FPS, and the image quality is still looking pretty sharp thanks to FSR 4.1. Again, it's another RE engine game that is well optimized, provided if you have enough VRAM. Now on 8 GB cards, this is not gonna run this well. Around 16 GB cards is actually really playable with a really steady frame rate. Okay, so I'd say if you just keep it like this, it's going to be really playable. If you want, you can enable frame gen on top of this. If you enable frame gen, you can get 100 FPS, just like that. So it's now really playable, and the input latency is pretty minimal as well. And I don't see any artifacting as well. So this is the way to go if you don't mind enabling frame gen, or if you hate frame gen, you can just turn it off and keep it to balanced settings. This again with the ray tracing, everything maxed out. Alright guys, and with FSR 4.1 the game looks really sharp. I'm gonna go to the center. Yeah, the care center. And in here it's way better. It's not as intensive as you saw over there, so you probably don't need any frame gen as well here. And you can see 110 FPS. Okay, it's about the same though. Maybe I was wrong. It's been a while since I've tried this game out, and maybe they've optimized everything accordingly. I have no idea, but it's running really well. You can see right here, 122 FPS. We'll go and kill the buddy over here. I forgot this guy was here. I'm back again. And there it is. Man. So it's gonna run really well, guys, even with ray tracing enabled and everything. So that's how I would prefer playing the game on this GPU. So even if you turn off frame gen, it's gonna be much more playable inside. It gives you 74 FPS. So yeah guys, this is totally playable, a really well optimized game. I've tested like a lot of GPUs on this game as well when it came out, and it ran really well on most of the GPUs. But 8 GB cards, yeah, they're a different story, but it's what it is. 8 GB cards are not enough these days. Definitely need a 12 GB card at least. So yeah, that's Resident Evil Requiem. Pretty solid. Let's move on to the next game. Alright, next up we are in Battlefield 6. So since this is an FPS online shooting game, I'm gonna go for a little bit of mixed settings. Go for high settings. And if you go to advanced, you can see we are on a native FSR and no upscaling is turned on right now, right? And you can see it's on 1440p, so only using about 8.2 GB of VRAM. We're getting like more than 150 FPS or something like that with these settings. Then I'm gonna turn it up to ultra and see. for now, let's keep it on these and see how it is. Alright, so we are in the game. Man, it's been a while. So 87 FPS on native high settings. That's pretty impressive, man, on a game like this. You know what? I'm not even mad about it. And it looks still looks pretty good. So let's just hop on this vehicle and go ahead. I think I played this map only once when I was testing out the 5060 Ti. I believe, I'm not sure, but let's see. I'm gonna go to D. Yeah, guys, our native settings, man, this is actually really playable, you know. Keep it going. And again, I have no idea where I'll get hit from because it's been a while. But yeah, 78 FPS, guys. This is actually really playable on high settings. If I was just playing it like this, I would have been totally fine with it. But let's just see how much we can get if we just enable a little bit of upscaling to quality. All right. And again, the more you go down, the more it's going to be CPU intensive. So you don't want to go a lot down. Something like performance mode is going to be CPU heavy. So even on quality mode, you can see we are like more CPU. Like right now we are fine using 98% of the GPU and still using 90% of the CPU. That's insane. So this is why this game is a little too intensive. What the hell was that? Oh, it's a sniper. Okay, my bad. You can see it's still really CPU intensive, man. That's crazy. So that's one of the worst things about this game, because it's like really CPU intensive, especially if you use a lot of upscaling. So I'd say try to keep it on high settings and use these so that it uses the GPU more than the CPU. So high settings and quality mode, man, is actually really playable. And 100 FPS is plenty enough for a Battlefield game. I'm dead. Maybe not. That's 2 hit. Can I just take out this tank? Oh, I think I need one more hit, man. That was like almost one shot. Hope there are no snipers. Got him. Uh-oh, I'm getting shot from a sniper. There's no way, man. But anyways, you guys get the idea. This is totally playable on these settings, guys. So you can play it like this, or if you want to go down again, it's totally up to you. But our high settings, definitely doable, even without upscaling. So that's Battlefield 6. Now let's move on to the next game. Okay, next up we have Valor Mortis. It's a demo right now, but it is going to be released in a couple of months. And it's an Unreal Engine 5 game, and it caught my interest. I already tested this game out on the 3080 Ti, and it seems to be a well-optimized Unreal Engine 5 game. So I was just curious to add this in the list, you know. Seems like a promising game with really good visuals. So I'm just going to add it here. So you can see we're going to start it off on 1440p and Epic preset with native anti-aliasing on FSR. And that's it. No frames and nothing. That gives us almost 40 FPS. And again, I don't know why the game started from the beginning, because I cleared all of this and now go to a later stage in the game. But I don't know. I think I lost the save file, but whatever. Let's keep it going. Getting 40 FPS, not the best thing, okay? We need more than that. So I'm gonna do right here. Let's try going to high settings. See if that's gonna get us close to 60 FPS. High settings actually does not. Actually, wait. High settings might be enough for us to get to 60 plus FPS consistently. Man, the details in this game are like really good. So yeah, 67 FPS over here, guys. And again, like I said, not enough for consistent 60, so I'm gonna go ahead and select this guy up, and there it is. The FPS frame time graph is not that stable at the moment. That, you know, I'm giving it a slack because it's a demo. I'm not gonna judge too much on that right now. But you guys can see, man, we need some kind of upscaling to make it better. I'm gonna put it back to Epic and also use some quality mode. It should be enough. And that will take us to 80 FPS, which is way better than barely 50 FPS. And there it is, the parry will get you the window for a single shot kill. Yeah, pretty good, right? So 70 FPS guys is looking pretty solid so far without any frame gen or anything. So really good right here. 67 FPS. Okay, so there, right there, we still dropped it down to 50s. But again, I wouldn't mind it, you know. There it is. 61 FPS guys. Still pretty stable 60 FPS, I might say. Almost killed me though. That's fine. Still pretty solid. Especially if you go here, it's gonna be like 70 FPS. Once you start using the special attacks, it might get a little bit more intensive. So I say keeping it to high will be the best option for this game. And quality mode, you know. There it is, 84. I don't think it's gonna drop ever below 60 with these settings. So I'm gonna say keep it like this for Valor Mortis. It's a really solid game. So yeah guys, this is a Valor Mortis, a really solid looking game with interesting mechanics. Keep an eye out for these. I will be definitely getting this game when it comes out, but for now it's pretty solid on the 9060 XT on 1440p. So there you have it. Now let's move on to the last and final game. Finally, I had to test out Cyberpunk 2077. Man, my voice is cracking, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not going for path tracing in this game because I've tested everything out in a really in-depth video that I did a couple months ago. And yeah, path tracing is not something that you want to go for. So I'm keeping it to actually ultra settings with no ray tracing at all. I'm going to keep it to FSR 4 native anti-aliasing. And everything is ultra. I'm not using Psycho reflections, just ultra, okay? And even that on 1440p, you can barely get 42 FPS, guys. So this game is actually really intensive on the AMD GPUs from what I've tested so far, and it is super stuttery as well. It's the same thing that I faced back then, it's the same thing here as well. So I don't know, man. Look at the frame time graph, it is not enjoyable whatsoever. So you definitely need some upscaling. I use quality mode, okay, apply that. That's gonna get us to 70 FPS, which is much more stable now. When the frame time graph is way better, 60 FPS now on ultra settings. So I'd say go for these settings if you ever want to play Cyberpunk 9060 XTs. It seems to be the best experience right here. If you hate frames or any of that stuff, and it looks really good, you know, thanks to FSR 4.1. So yeah, 66 FPS right here. I would definitely play like this without any issue, but it can still dip down below 60, so just keep that in mind as well. If you enable some frame gen, we're gonna lose the full screen accessibility, so I'm gonna have to restart the game. But frame gen is not that great. I'm just gonna increase input latency by a little bit, but it's gonna be alright, so just restart and see. And again, this is the other issue that I have with enabling frame gen on an AMD GPU, because we don't have full screen access. It's only windowed and windowed borderless. On the NVIDIA GPUs, you have full screen access with the DLSS frame gen, but with FSR frame gen, you can't. So that's another downside. But if you have a 40p monitor, then it's going to be fine. But if you have 4K monitors, like shrink down to 1440p, so yeah, I can't make it full screen. But yeah, same settings, frame gen enabled, quality, and ultra. I guess you do 130 FPS, upscale from 60. So really playable here with 120 FPS. There's a slight bit of latency, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, it is really manageable. No big issue on a single player game. So if you're cool with frame gen, you can play like this, otherwise disable it, totally up to you. But yeah, it is playable. But for me, I'd say I'm gonna go with the high settings and FSR quality without any frame gen. That's gonna take you to a pretty solid 80 FPS, like you can see right here. And yeah, this is Dogtown, really intensive area. So if you can get 80 FPS here, that means you will be totally fine in the other parts of the city, you know. So yeah, high settings and quality mode is what I would prefer for this GPU, particularly because I don't know, for some reason AMD cards are not well optimized in Cyberpunk. So yeah, that'll be it. That's gonna be the last game, Cyberpunk. So there you have it, guys. That's the 9060 XT 10 games test in 2026 at 4040p resolution. Pretty solid performance, I'm not gonna lie. Most of the games can be maxed out with a little bit of upscaling, but if you hate upscaling, you can pump it down a little bit and it should be getting you solid 60 FPS or more. So yeah, guys, I don't think I need to show you guys anything further. So if you like this video, leave a like, so subscribe to the channel for more benchmarks like these. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a great time wherever you are. I'll catch you guys in the next one, so take it easy and peace out.